Alright everyone, so as promised in my channel update video, I am back and I am starting the first ever series of podcasts that I am going to do. In this video, I am going to be discussing about the game Deoxynn, a story of fear and insanity. Now, again, I went into much detail on why the videos suddenly became podcasts, and you can go and check out that channel update video if you want to know. But basically I got tired of editing, so now this is how the maximum of the videos are going to be. So anyway, this is going to be in the format of, at the beginning of the video, like probably right about now, I'm going to give you about the timestamps for the video, as in when you have to click to get which part of the discussion, and you can go and do that. So they probably appear right about now, so doing that. So at the beginning of the video, I'm going to start the mini theory in the podcast, and this mini theory is practically an extension of my previous video, that is how do dioxin corrupt their victims, and I have a very more scientific answer for that actually. And the answer to the previous question was, well, they basically mess with your brain and adrenal gland system and so on. And now I'm going to tell you how did they do that. Like, my previous video was basically about, yeah, they do this and this to the body, but I never really explained how they do it. So here I'm going to explain that, and my answer to that is simply microorganisms and or prions. So to those unacquainted with the scientific terminology, you probably know about microorganisms, but what are prions? Well, they are irregularly folded proteins, and they can cause just about the same amount of trouble to a person as viruses. And why am I saying all this? Well, I am of the belief that the creatures we know as dioxin are either a descendant of a disease causing microorganism, or they have a symbiotic relation with said organism that can create prions or are prions themselves, and they use it to basically mess around with the system of human beings and creatures similar to that. So yeah, that was basically the mini theory, and now let's get on to the video in a proper format. Welcome everyone to the podcasts of my channel, and these podcasts are basically a way in which you can enjoy my content without having to pay full attention to them. There is not anything that you really have to see visually on the screen to enhance your viewing capabilities, so you can do whatever you want while watching this, such as you know doing some chores of the house, or more often than not playing video games like I do while watching most of the theories from other channels. So anyway, let's dive on into the topic of today, which is the relation between humans, beasts, and dioxin. Now I'm going to be the first one to admit that at first glance this is going to sound like something that only people who never played the game really need an explanation to. And I don't blame you. At first glance, this does seem like a too much obvious of a thing to be discussing, especially in a podcast having dedicated to it. But let me tell you, this is more complicated than that. what appears at first glance. Like, I have researched a lot into this game, and I have spent a lot of time thinking about it. And the more I think about it, the more I keep on realizing that there are things that we simply do not know, such as who really initiated the battle between beasts and humans, what is the relation between beasts and Deoxynn, and many others to that part. So let us start off simply. The relation between beasts and humans. This one is very easy. They are currently in what can only be described as a cold war, as in neither side is actively provoking or battling against the other, but that's currently in a very delicate position. As we see in the game, even the wandering in of a small child from one side can send the other side into a panic, and Wolfgar nearly declares war on the humans just because Alexa have tried to get into their territory. So yeah, needless to say that it is very, you know, very tense. So there's that. On top of this, we really have no idea on which side was the one to start all of this. On one side, Ulfgar claims that it was the humans during his boss battle in the non-Insanity routes. And on the other hand, there is a book in the library in which a person from the Doomsday Fleet says that it was the beasts who attacked the humans first when they just wanted to make some area for themselves. So, which one is it? Well, hold that thought, because it will be answered sooner or later. As let me move on to the more complicated one of these three interactions, and this loose end is left to be tied to one of the other discussions we are going to be having. I wouldn't leave a loose thread just like that, trust me. So anyway, moving on to the one between humans and Deoxynn. Well, firstly, some of you might be asking, what exactly is the difference between this and the one between humans and beasts? After all, there are a lot of dialogue saying that Deoxynn might actually be beasts. And yeah, you are right to an extent, but not exactly as well, because what humans view as beasts and what the beasts view as them as themselves actually has a different meaning. From what we see, the term beast is being used as something that's anything other than a human and comes from Europa. And it's also not being used even exactly as the term animal, because there are humanoid creatures such as the Anais and felines, which are we know in game because Caleb and Katie belong to those groups respectively, and they are not the normal things you call animals, and they're humanoid and all of that. Podcasts are hard. Anyway, moving on with my inability to be that much of a great podcast host. The point is, the term beast is anything from Europa, from the way humans see it. From the beast's perspective, it seems that they consider themselves basically a society, and they seem to have been doing very well despite some being carnivores and some being herbivores, and hence predatorship is a factor and all of that. Despite all of that, it seems that more or less were doing fine before the humans arrived. So there is that. Anyway, moving on to the second topic again, the, the interactions between humans and Deoxynn. And this one is a little more complicated than the one between humans and beasts, because where, where we know that why humans and beasts are, you know, being at war, it is mainly due to territorial clashes. We have literally no freaking idea as to why on earth the Deoxynn insist on, you know, turning some of the humans insane and giving them what is basically a second side of their mind. No, I'm not even kidding. There is literally no reason as to why they are doing this, and I can't even go on a rant on this because, frankly, there is nothing. Moving on, the one between Deoxynn and beasts. If you thought the previous one where I said that there is no reason to ask why Deoxynn are doing what they do, well, congratulations, because that's not even the most complicated part. There we at least know what the Deoxynn and the humans are doing to each other. Here we don't even have any idea about that. Or that is what I would have said if it had not been for one factor of this game: environmental storytelling. You see, Deoxynn is not just something where character dialogues, it's just the character dialogue and occasionally attacks on the cave walls and such. As we all know, there are probably going to be more than that for the lore, because lo and behold, there are seemingly a few items that the beasts have gathered and a few abilities the beasts have obtained specifically to deal with Deoxynn, or more specifically, ways to pacify the Deoxynn's victims. And they seem to have them stored away. Well, what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about the items, specifically the golden berry item and the rejuvenate. And what exactly do these items do? Well, the golden berry item has two effects. One, it has the effect of being able to firstly heal a person back to their full health, and two, decrease the limit back to 0. And secondly, sorry if I repeat a few things, I am needing to pause between recordings. And anyway, secondly, it has the effect of being able to reduce one's limit back to 0. And the rejuvenator basically has the second effect of the golden berry again, that is reducing the limit back to 0. But the rejuvenator only does that if the limit is at 100%. Now yes, I am fully aware that me claiming that these are specifically anti-Deoxynn victim things may not be the strongest point, but hear me out, okay? Yeah, I am aware that the golden berry is, the best healing item in the game, and it would make sense that it is used only as a healing item and not for any other purposes normally, and the limit thing is just a secondary effect. And for the rejuvenator and the golden berry both, it can be argued that the effect of decreasing a limit might just be used as a a refreshment or something, like to get someone to calm down and all of that, and those are semi-valid arguments. But sorry to say that again, they're just semi, valid because while the golden berry is just found out in the open, the rejuvenator really isn't. The rejuvenator, if you would recall, is found in what is a semi-secret room which you have to backtrack to in a very long corridor, and this there is also a puzzle that is seemingly guarding it. Like mm, you probably know that one pair Alex and Katie discuss their backstories and all of that stuff. Well, you need you remember what Katie had to do to get to that part? She literally had to go over the over some rocks and something, and the puzzle was literally seemingly designed for at least two people in conjunction to work together to solve it. So in other words, the rejuvenator is at least a semi highly guarded valuable item in the eyes of whoever built that puzzle, and we know for a fact that the vast majority, as in literally all the puzzles we see in the, I say all, but I think some might be built by him, I don't remember properly, but a lot of the puzzles are built by the beasts. So point is, there were at least at some point beasts who were afraid of the Deoxynn victims. But you might hear me saying this and be like, wait, what are you implying here? And let me just gather all of this for you and say, well, there are items that have this specifically designed to help to contain the Deoxynn victims that are likely stored by beasts. There are a few beasts such as Wolfgar who has a hole specifically designed to revert a limit back to zero. There are beasts such as Olen who have the sleep stats effect on their attacks, which sleep effect, again has the secondary effect to decrease one's limit. And on top of all of this, if my previous theory turns out to be true, the Deoxynn can also affect some beasts, specifically ones such as the Anai, who we know how physical and anatomical similarities to the humans, and possibly ones such as the felines also. You see where I'm getting with this? My theory is, and if it wasn't obvious from all the discussion we had previously, my theory is basically that before the humans showed up, the Deoxynn did to a few beasts what they have been doing to humans in the current day, as in driving some of them insane. No, that's basically it. That was the theory. Sorry if it was anticlimactic, but I really don't have anything else to say about it. Though, if that is the case, there are a few questions and theories and some explanations also that begin to pop up. Firstly, why are Deoxynn known as demons in some of the dialogue? Well, a popular way in which adults in the olden times used to basically warn their children about dangerous things is basically say, hey, that thing right there, if you do that, a ghost is going to haunt you or something. No, like I just want to say an example. I heard somewhere in the villages of my country, if I remember properly, I think they used to say something like, hey, don't sit under a tree at night because then ghosts will haunt you. And as ridiculous as that sounds, it from what I heard, was basically the adults having to exaggerate the problem so as children don't sit under the tree at night, because many creatures that can cause diseases or poison you, such as you know snakes, and also some specific bugs, and some disease carrying bugs at that, tend to also be near trees at night. So which one do you think the children are going to fear more? Bugs, and at very rare occasions snakes? Like, what are they? If a adult says to children, hey, don't sit under there, or else on occasion there might be a snake or two under there, or don't sit under there, or you will definitely get haunted by ghosts. Like this, from what I see, might actually just explain Deoxynn. And also, if they were called demons by the rest of the beasts, suddenly it also gives us motivation as to why actually they would use that strength they had, where in other situations they might not have used that ability to make the beasts go insane. If the rest of the community calls you demons, that suddenly gives you a lot of almost valid reason to mess with a few of its members. Now, I am not saying that if this is the case, neither side is really justifiable. They are not justifiable at all. Calling a member of society demons is basically just racism. Even if, yeah, they might have strength, but there is no evidence of them really wanting to use it without any motivation. At the same time, the Deoxynn are not justifiable either, because harming a lot of members of society because some of them were racist is not exactly justifiable either. In fact, isn't this similar, like I'm just starting to realize this today, a few hours before recording this, but isn't this the same thing that basically caused Undertale? Like, the monsters were sealed away because they had the strength to absorb human souls, but they, from what we know, did not really have any motive to do so, but the humans fed them anyway and sealed them in a mountain, and killed the only monster that came out in a few decades. And suddenly the monsters had motivation to try to hurt the humans. Anyway, my theory aside, that was my potential explanation to why Deoxynn might be called demons. And the question of, and also answers the sudden question of why exactly why exactly Deoxynn had motive to do anything that they do. Now you might be thinking to yourself, okay, that pretty much explains why the beasts would try to corrupt the why the Deoxynn would try and corrupt the beasts. Now you might be thinking, why would they try to corrupt the humans? And well, it all has a little. I have two answers for all of this. One answer, if you believe that the loose thread, now bringing in the loose thread that I loosened up previously, which side of the war are exactly lying on all of that? As in, again, recap, Wolfgar says that the humans started this war, the humans say that the beast started the war, Now, there are two potential answers that I can see to this. One answer is if you believe that Wolfgar is right and the humans were the one to start the war and later wrote in their books that the beast started the war as a form of propaganda. And two, I have an answer in which technically both sides were not wrong from their perspective. If you believe that the humans are the ones saying the truth and Wolfgar is the one lying, well, you're out of luck because I have no theory about any of that. Because one, Wolfgar is at this moment, Wolfgar has full intentions to end the life of Alexa. So why would he try and bother to lie to her? If you are going to kill someone, then why lie to them? He has literally no intention of letting her go. So why? So anyway, discussing the first scenario. If we believe that Wolfgar was saying the truth and humans started the war, and them claiming that the beasts starting the war was just propaganda. If we believe that, I have an answer to why Deoxynn would try and corrupt the humans. If they say, if there are two sides in a war, one which has basically primitive technology and one which is more aggressive, has the capability to possess more advanced technology. Sorry, relative interrupted the electronic command. Anyway, what I was basically asking is, who, if the war continued without attaining the Cold War status, who do you think would win? Either the beasts or the humans? The answer is simple. If the humans utilized the power of firearms, which were supposedly banned on Earth, but that was very flimsy foundation because somehow Hornet has one. It's very easy to see which side would win, the humans. But if they had internal chaos, suddenly they would have less incentive to kill the beasts and more incentive to sort that one out first. So, what internal struggle would that be? Simple. The Deoxynn infection. In this scenario, I am suggesting that the beasts, or more specifically the Deoxynn, saw an opportunity that they could use their ability to be helpful to their fellow beasts and took it to make sure that the humans would not win the war, and in turn the beasts would kind of be like, okay, this thing that the Deoxynn can do is actually kind of useful, so let us give them a chance to be a actual part of society. And that's basically my theory in this scenario. If the beasts are the ones who did not initiate the war, my theory then would be that the Deoxynn might have started causing internal chaos within the human civilization in order to basically give time to their beast comrades to turn the tides of the war. If you believe in the second alternative, as in from their perspective neither the beasts nor the humans were lying, well, also that scenario is more believable. On one hand, from what we have seen of the beasts, As long as we don't do stuff to them, they seem to, you know, be generally passive. And the only reason they attack Alexa, even in those situations, is because of the Cold War status of the situation. And if we treat them well, they seem to get along with us just fine. And also, from the other side of the things, the humans seem to actually want peace just as much as the beasts. On one hand, even though human nature is a very big part of the game, the humans, from what we know from the lore of the game, which I will go into much more detail later in other podcasts, the humans seem to have come from a event on Earth. They seem to have migrated to Europa after an event on Earth known as the Doomsday. Now, while we do not have much details of this Doomsday, I have theorized in my previous videos that this might actually be related to the Great War, as said in the library. Watch my phone call analysis video for that. I theorized that the Great War referenced here was actually World War II, and that the Doomsday event was actually nuclear fallout. So, if that is the case, the humans would have just witnessed what violence can bring, and also they seemingly, seemingly they have banned firearms on Earth itself. So, what I'm saying is, it seems that either way, the humans would not have been ready, both emotionally and physically capable of, entering another war. So it would be in their best efforts to try and make peace with the local inhabitants of the planet of Europa, that is the beasts. So it would not make sense for them to initiate the battle as well. So what am I suggesting here? The Deoxynn. The Deoxynn are the ones to initiate the war. Think about it. We know that they can shapeshift because, that's how they get close to humans and all of that. And we also know that, according to Wolfgar, this is an odd detail, but hear me out. Humans, I think the quote was, humans are the source of all fear on this planet, or something like that. And the Deoxynn can thrive in a society with more fear, because if there is more fear, then they can have more victims. As according to something that Acoustic Jam mentioned in the comments of my previous video, it seems that the Deoxynn's infection basically stems from the social anxieties, fear, things that are already inside the minds of the victim. So, if say the humans are having the upper hand in the war, then the Deoxynn would have a society with more fear, and as such would have more targets which they can corrupt. While we don't know why the Deoxynn corrupt their victims, there is likely a reasonable explanation for this. There is no reason for them to do it if it does not benefit them. So, say in a scenario where there are two sides of war, and the war is going on in such a way that the more fearsome side, in this case the humans, are having the upper hand. Well, that would cause more fear in the beasts. If the beasts had more victims, then it would cause more internal chaos, as I discussed in the previous potential theory. and would make the beasts more inclined towards losing. With that, if say then the humans won, then it was be as simple as for the Deoxynn to just simply integrate into a part of the human society and live out their lives from a fresh start, or they could go the more darker version of this path by simply causing, after the war, causing more internal chaos within the human society as well, and then cause internal chaos and then just have them take them out and take each other out, as we saw from the Jake boss battle that the Deoxynn the Deoxynn victims' insane halves don't really show any partiality while killing their fellow victims or such. Like Alexa's insane half is more than willing to attack Jake, and the same is true on the other half of is the same on the other half of things. But wait, didn't I just say that in this explanation it would make sense for the Deoxynn to target the beasts first and the humans next? Well, yes, I did. But remember what I said. For this scenario to play out, the humans would have to be more fearsome and more aggressive in their tactics. And what would give them one motivation to be more aggressive in their tactics? Well, say a group of organisms that the humans consider beasts would keep on corrupting some of the members of their society, but not to a large extent as to cause an internal panic. In that scenario, the humans would almost justifiably be outraged at the situation, because the beasts not only have initiated the war but have also been corrupting members of their society, namely kids. Well, that cannot be. Well, the humans would be angry. You know what I'm saying? So that would make the humans more outraged and more aggressive, and from that the theory explanation, the scenario explanation that I gave earlier could easily play out. So yeah, that was my theory slash discussion, more or less, because that is somewhat far-fetched and all of that. I just wanted to discuss these scenarios with all of you guys for all of that. And before leaving, I want to give you a quick points to ponder upon and come up with your own thoughts and all of that. One, we know that there are organizations such as the beasts, such as the Frigo 5, which Sir Drilltail is a part of. So, do you think that there might be a group of beasts that have tried and integrate themselves into the human society? Well, other than the Deoxynn, of course. Like, we know that there are other humanoid beasts other than the Deoxynn, such as again the Anais and the felines. And from what we've seen in Probaton, the humans aren't exactly too knowledgeable in distinguishing between beasts and fellow human beings, because when Katie comes into the town, they basically think that she's a cosplayer, and from what we've seen, Caleb has been a part of human society his entire life without anyone ever noticing. Like, how? In other words, if it is that much easy for the Deoxynn to for the beast to become part of the human society, do you think there's any organization of the beasts ever dedicated to try and doing that? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'm open to criticism also, so if you have any suggestions as to how to improve my podcast, I said that I would include a Q&A session, but I couldn't because there were no questions this time. So leave all of that down in the comment section down below for me to discuss and all of that. So thanks for watching. Bye for now.